So this work has been accepted for publication in CrownCom 2013. This slide provides the outline for the talk. We first motivate the need for decentralized secondary spectrum trading and then provide a brief overview of law-governed interaction, which acts as the basis of our approach. Next, we describe a simplified case study of a peer-to-peer secondary spectrum marketplace. After that, we discuss the architecture of our proposed solution to enable the regulation of transmissions made by the radio devices based on the exclusive access rights to spectrum. We then describe related work. Finally, we conclude and sketch the pertinent ongoing work. One of the chief reasons for underutilization of spectrum is that the entities acquiring the usage rights to spectrum in primary markets from the regulatory authorities, such as the FCC in US, are unable to utilize it to its full extent. Dynamic spectrum access aims to address the spectrum scarcity problem by providing new and effective ways of accessing spectrum to increase the communication capacity and the efficiency of spectrum use. Such methods include the exclusive usage rights scheme, commons model, and the opportunistic usage regimes. Much of the work in this area is focused on maximizing bandwidth efficiency, suitably adjusting power levels of different users, providing effective quality of service to secondary spectrum users, etc., using the techniques of optimization and game theory. However, very limited prior work exists dealing with the issue of trading of exclusive access rights to spectrum on secondary markets, even though the US FCC proposed the removal of regulatory barriers for the development of such markets almost a decade ago. Moreover, the current approach to secondary spectrum trading in the US directly involves the FCC, thus making these transactions cumbersome, costly, and time-consuming, besides rendering them unsuitable for small-scale applications. Thus, one way of improving the overall spectrum utilization is by enabling the spectrum consumers to trade the exclusive access rights to spectrum without having to go over the hassles of getting the corresponding transactions directly approved by the FCC. We propose a two-step solution to enable easy access to spectrum, to simplify the task of spectrum management, and to improve the overall spectrum utilization. First, by describing a decentralized secondary spectrum marketplace where consumers can trade the exclusive access rights to a portion of spectrum specified by frequency band, geographic location, and time period for the payment of a fee under the constraint of obeying the trading rules formulated by the government in a decentralized P2P manner. And second, by outlining an architecture in which such exclusive access rights to spectrum can be used to regulate the transmissions made by the radio devices, to enable proactive enforcement of the spectrum usage policies and to deter unauthorized transmission. So what are the requirements of such a secondary spectrum marketplace? First and foremost, it must allow consumers to sell, lease, or transfer the access rights to a chunk of spectrum by disaggregating, partitioning, or time sharing the corresponding spectrum in their possession. Also, the trading in such a marketplace must support the auditing requirements so that the governmental agencies can use this information for monitoring spectrum usage and to facilitate the collection of taxes. Further, such marketplaces must operate in compliance with the trading rules set up by the government in order to be practical and effective. Overall, the requirements of such a marketplace can be met only by a decentralized, proactive, stateful regulatory mechanism that is capable of enforcing a common set of rules across all the heterogeneous participants so that the communal properties of the marketplace cannot be violated. Hence, we have used the law-governed interaction mechanism to enable decentralized secondary spectrum trading over the internet. LGI is a mode of interaction that allows a heterogeneous group of distributed agents to interact with each other with confidence that the explicitly specified policies, known as the law of the community, is obeyed by everyone in the group. The most salient aspects of LGI laws are the strictly local formulation and the decentralized nature of the enforcement. The messages exchanged under a law L are referred to as L messages, and the group of agents interacting via L messages is known as an L community. LGI does not assume any knowledge about the structure and behavior of the members. It only deals with the interaction between the members. Laws are about local behavior, but they have global communal implications because everybody in the given community is subject to the same law. LGI provides high expressive power and supports stateful as well as proactive laws. Laws can be written either in Java or in Prolog. Concretely, we have used the Java-based law language because it is more efficient. However, despite the pragmatic importance of a particular language used for specifying laws, the semantics of LGI are basically independent of that language. For each agent X in the community, LGI maintains a control state on behalf of the agent, denoted as CS in this figure. These control states, which can change dynamically depending on the law, enable the law to make distinction between the various agents. The semantics of the control state are defined by the law and can include things such as the role of an agent in a community, its identity, its privileges, etc. The law of a community is enforced by trusted mediaries known as controllers. Every message exchange between a pair of agents X and Y is thus mediated by the controllers TX and TY, so that the enforcement is inherently decentralized. The law of a community is defined over certain events occurring at the members of the community, mandating the effect that any such event should have. This mandate is known as the ruling of the law. These events subject to the law, known as regulated events, include, among others, the sending and arrival of a message, the coming due of an obligation, or the submission of a digital certificate. The operations that can be included in the ruling of a law are known as primitive operations. These include operation on messages such as forward and deliver, modifying the control state of the agent where the event occurred, also referred to as the home agent, or imposing an obligation on the home agent. Although the law L of a community is global in the sense that it governs the interaction between all the members of the community, it is enforced locally at each member. For members of an L community to trust its interlocutors to observe the same law, one needs the following assurances: that the controllers are correctly implemented, the mediating controllers are operating under the same law, and messages are securely transmitted over the network. As to the correctness of the controllers, it is assumed that every community is willing to trust the controllers that has been certified by a given certification authority, which can be mentioned in the corresponding law. To ensure that a message forwarded by a controller TX operating under law L would be handled by a controller TY operating under the same law, TX appends the one-way hash of its law to the message it sends to TY. TY would accept this message as a valid L message only if the hash accompanying it is the same as the hash of its own law. It is assumed that the messages transmitted over the network are secure through proper cryptographic authentication and integrity mechanisms. We have used the terminology of Agarwal et al. Regarding the buying and selling of spectrum to imply the buying and selling of exclusive access rights to spectrum, and the term spectrum consumers to refer to entities such as cellular network operators, TV companies, wireless broadband providers, end users, etc., that buy and sell, transfer or lease such exclusive access rights. Spectrum blocks refers to a unique assignment of spectrum at a particular place for a given frequency and for a specified time period. Additionally, spectrum blocks are sold without any restrictions or rules about what services can be offered, what blocks can be enabled, or what technologies can be used. That is, spectrum is liberalized with constraint only on the maximum level of interference that can be caused to neighboring spectrum consumers. Let us consider a motivating example of such a peer-to-peer online secondary spectrum marketplace. This case study involves the following entities: the consumers, who either buy and sell or transfer the spectrum blocks among themselves; the banks, that act as the financial infrastructure facilitating the monetary payments, and for simplicity we have assumed that all the payments are done by credit cards; an auditor appointed by the government that keeps a record of all the traded spectrum access rights that can be used later by the governmental agencies for monitoring spectrum usage and to facilitate the collection of taxes; and finally a certification authority that provides digital credentials to all the participants. We assume the presence of a spectrum registry that is used by the consumers to advertise and to search for information regarding spectrum block sales and auctions. It is assumed that a secure and reliable set of geographically distributed controllers, known as the controller service, is maintained and managed by a governmental organization such as the FCC, which acts as a trusted third party with no financial interest in the computing activities regulated by its controllers. Such a controller service essentially acts as a public utility which can be used by consumers distributed all over the internet. However, it is important that the operating organization assumes certain liabilities for the failure of its controllers provided to the customers. The specific governmental policy that we consider in the case study deals with the following issues. All the participants are required to authenticate themselves by presenting a certificate given by the certification authority. A consumer who has acquired the access rights to a portion of spectrum in primary markets can authenticate such a position by submitting a certificate signed by the FCC. A consumer may either transfer or sell the access rights to a portion of spectrum in his possession, either completely or in part by dividing the corresponding spectrum along the frequency, space, time dimensions. Monetary payments in this marketplace are handled by banks via credit cards. And finally, all the traded spectrum access rights are reported to the auditor. Note that the various participants in such a marketplace are likely to exchange a variety of other information messages pertaining to advertisements, negotiations, search and retrieval of information that is not directly concerned with the governmental regulations, and hence the governmental policy does not deal with these types of messages. In our implementation, the access rights to a portion of spectrum can be represented by a list of terms, frequency, time, and so on. Moreover, our model allows spectrum blocks to be formed by dividing the spectrum along the frequency, space, time dimensions. In the proposed model, the consumers trade the exclusive access rights to spectrum by involving the bank, which facilitates the monetary transactions. It is possible to modify the suggested model to incorporate payments via digital cash. This would enable all the interactions taking place in such a marketplace to be completely decentralized. Moreover, it would increase the applicability of this scheme by making it suitable for both micro payments and macro payment deals. Here is a broad outline of the architecture that can be used to regulate the transmissions made by radio devices based on the exclusive access rights to spectrum, also referred to as tokens in this slide. We assume the presence of a secure clock and a secure GPS on each wireless device that provides the corresponding device with an accurate timing and location information respectively. It is also assumed that the tokens originally stored in the controllers can be transferred to the trusted kernel of the user device. Now, if all the transmission requests made by the devices are approved by the kernel such that the corresponding request is permitted if and only if it satisfies the frequency, space, timing, and other constraints mentioned in the token, then it can be ensured that the radio devices transmit in accordance with their spectrum usage rights. Thus, such an architecture can enable proactive enforcement of the spectrum usage policies and deter unauthorized transmission. However, it should be pointed out that this architecture is limited in the sense that it cannot prevent radio devices from transmitting if they have been tampered with or if they can be operated without complying to these tokens. In this context, our earlier work had introduced a model of interaction control for regulation of wireless communication in ad hoc networks, which allows us to control the application level messaging performed by the wireless nodes, and hence it can be viewed as an initial proof of concept for the aforementioned architecture. Agraudis et al. Have described a policy-driven trading framework for market-based spectrum assignment that allows consumers to trade exclusive access rights to spectrum blocks for electronic payments. However, this framework has many drawbacks. This work only deals with the trading of these exclusive access rights but does not address the crucial question of how these credentials are to be used for policing the spectrum use. Moreover, the authors have used the Keynote Trust Management System to implement a prototype of their policy model, and hence this framework cannot support delegation by transfer of privileges. That is, a consumer would not lose its access rights to spectrum even after selling it to another consumer. Further, auditing requirements that may be essential for monitoring spectrum usage cannot be directly supported by trust management systems. SpecX.com provides a centralized online real-time marketplace for secondary spectrum trading in the US. This platform allows the entire spectrum licenses or licenses that are being geographically partitioned, frequency disaggregated, or offered on a timeshare basis to be bought, sold, or leased. However, this current state-of-the-art approach involves the FCC indirectly approving the transactions. It is possible to use a website such as SpecX as a spectrum registry for our model, whereby sellers can advertise about their spectrum goods and buyers can consequently search and find out the information about the deals they are interested in. Then the potential buyers can interact directly with the sellers in a decentralized P2P manner by adopting an LGI controller and by operating it under the specified governmental policy. To conclude, we have proposed an innovative secondary spectrum marketplace where consumers can trade the exclusive access rights to a portion of spectrum for the payment of a fee in a decentralized P2P manner without directly involving the governmental agencies. The main benefit of this approach is that it reduces the cost, overhead, and delay associated with secondary spectrum transactions, thereby improving the overall spectrum utilization. Further, we have also outlined an architecture to regulate the transmissions made by the radio devices based on the exclusive access rights to spectrum, thus accomplishing proactive enforcement of the spectrum usage policies. We have already extended this work to support the hierarchical organization of the secondary spectrum marketplace policies, to take into account the hierarchical nature of the authorities which may be involved in defining its rule, and the volition that may be granted to the spectrum consumers to deal with certain issues that is not directly related with the governmental regulation, such as how spectrum goods are to be sold. That's it. Any questions?